on this week's Rockstar Superhero.
See, I was once lost, ain't never been found, cause every time I spit it's like clips to the ground.
Let me tell you something. Wowashwow is a foray into a relatively unknown world for me. You see, growing up, I fancied myself a listener of all types of music. I was open to all genres, but I never really gave those deep soul grooves a chance, mostly because I didn't understand where they were coming from or what they were saying. I honestly don't think I was trying too hard either. Today, when I hear a new soul groove or delve into certain hip-hop singles, I hear aspects that pop but don't really capture me too much. That is until I heard Wow's new single, Class Enrollment, and well, I was sold. This was a new thing, a new sound, a new world, and a heck of a vibe. My conversation with Wow was short, but still all the things. She's an exciting talent with world-changing destiny on her mind. She says she's going to will it into existence, and doing what she does with these beats pretty much assures you she's probably correct. So, spend the next 30 minutes catching up with this exciting voice and utterly inspiring woman. She's going to be hard to beat, and I know of what I speak. This is Wowashwow on your Rockstar Superhero.
It's that backdoor shit, we put on the flow, shit, give them some more shit, big guns that blow that you can't control it, let alone slow.
Typically, I feature heavy metal and hard rock acts, so to go down a road that is obviously more either rap or soul or R&B based is traditional to me, but I think you're very special, so I wanted to talk to you.
I appreciate that. Well, coming from a rock and roll and like heavy metal queen from just my roots, very much appreciated to be speaking to any sort of outlet or like media based just publication that's like, all right, we normally do rock and roll, but you know, we hear something in there and that makes my soul smile. Makes people fall asleep. Makes my soul smile. We're just going to do this whole interview with a sleepy, disinterested dog.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. Well, yeah, for everybody not watching this, she has her dog in her hands right now to keep the dog quiet. So, look, I want to ask you this. This is something I don't normally talk about right off the bat, but I want to get to it because we have very little time. Your style and sound makes me think of what is identity. You know, that's a core part of the creative world. What are you putting out there saying about yourself? You know, how do we present ourselves? And what I'd really like to know in the beginning here is if you could characterize yourself, what would you say? How would you present yourself in a positive light? Because I would love to know how you see yourself and what you want us to see of you, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I've thought about this for the longest time. Like, what is my music? What does it say? And to just sum it up in like one word or two, a force. A force, because when you hear the music, when you see the show, when you just understand the vibe and the energy of everything, you know, it leaves a lot of people saying like, whoa, like she's a force to be reckoned with. And even just like my own understanding as an artist, like it took me a minute to actually get here as an artist to say, you know what, like I don't sound like anyone. And when I classify myself, like, what do I classify myself as? And it's like, you know what, damn it, I'm a force to be reckoned with. Like, I am a force of positivity, a force of just showing people what it's like to get back to your true creative self and not necessarily follow the guidelines and the trends and everything of like what's hip and popular. And trust me, it is so incredibly easy to sink into that. And it's very easy as an artist to sort of try to equate your level of success to what your metrics are on social media and like what your metrics are in general in terms of streams and all that. And like, don't get me wrong, that stuff does matter, but to a certain degree. And so, yeah, that would, with the combination of this album and then also the first album that I worked on, I've really, as an artist, I've been coming into my own self and just like, you know, it represents me and me as a person. I am loud. I am unapologetic. I am, you know, I'm just on stage. I'm a damn force to be reckoned with. So,
yeah. No, that's a great answer. You know, I was noticing when I was listening to your material, when I first discovered you, I just plopped right down and put all those tracks on, put them in my ears and just sort of marinated in what you do. And I've noticed wisely that all of your songs are quite short. They're very straight to the point. And it seems to me you drop a little atom bomb every song and you let the audience decide if they want more. And I think that's such a perfect thing. It encapsulates what you shared because it makes me think like you've created these 2.5, 3 minute long movies, these musical movies that you can put into video or that, you know, you can just perform live on stage, but it's very, very visual in its presentation. If you're tracking with what I'm saying.
yeah.
And I was wondering, how does that, I haven't seen you live, but what's your experience like trying to pull that off live? Because, you know, it's like kaboom, you know what I mean? You're right there right now.
I will tell you one thing, Rob. Once I step off stage, I'm out of breath and my feet hurt. That I will tell you, sir. I am out of breath, my feet hurt, and I need a nap by the time I'm off stage. But yeah, you are right. As a songwriter, I've been making a lot of conscious decisions to essentially get straight to the point. And then that is where you're seeing like my love of punk rock music, because if you know, in traditional punk rock, like that, straight into the point, say what you got to say and get out of there. And then also the same with like a lot of hip hop that is not necessarily mainstream that I listen to. A lot of those artists, you know, they create like these short bodies of work that is just like, whoa. Yeah. So going forward, when I was writing, it's like, what do you want to say? Mm-hmm. Say it and get the hell off the mic. I used to be the queen of like a bridge and another alternate bridge A, bridge B, chorus A, chorus B. And then like by the time, like I have now got a whole musical instead of a one song. So
I get that.
Yeah, so I refined that a bit as a songwriter, but then on stage, it's just pure freaking energy. And having those short songs, it allows me to essentially, when I get on stage, I'm like, okay, when I curate this show, like what story am I trying to tell?
Right.
What's the venue like? What's the audience going to be like? Like, what's the vibe and everything? So that sort of gives me a framework of, okay, these songs all tell the perfect story with each other and can lead right into the next one. And it makes like sort of like a cohesive sense. Like if you've ever seen Frank Zappa perform live or
I was just, a half an hour ago, I was watching the Zappa thing.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, Zappa is one of my biggest influences when it comes to like musical arrangements and just doing things live. And if you listen to a lot of his albums, there's some songs that he has that are like very, very short. But then when he plays them live, you know, they maybe turn into like a 10-minute song because he has like all of just these very intricate arrangements and like melodies and just different parts for everyone to play. Yeah. And to me, that is so damn cool because, you know, you're really seeing the true artistry of him as an artist. But more importantly, like when I perform live, I play with a live band. So there's no backing. Yeah, there's no backing tracks or anything like that. And all of the music that you've heard from my first album, none of that was samples. That was all live musicians in the studio playing it. And then like to get sort of that sampled effect, we would have my guitar player go in and play a lead line, then cut it and chop it and screw it and put it into like sort of a more hip hop friendly approach or whatever, instead of it being straight like rock and roll or punk. But yeah, my influence and everything with the rock and roll scene, it has sort of molded my live show because I'm like, I always got to have a live band. I am that girl that stresses out the sound guy. Like I stress out a sound guy on the regular because, you know, right now I'm showing up in venues where they are small to medium sized, and here comes me with my 2 horn players, my keyboard player, my guitar player, my bass player, my drummer, my percussionist. So I step on stage looking like Ash, Wind, and Fire, and and I just stress them out, but they do a fantastic job, and I appreciate them. But yeah, that is definitely. Writing those songs, it allows me to be able to tell more of a story and give an experience when I'm on stage performing, instead of saying, here's one song, here's another song, here's another song. I'm just like, okay, how do all of these songs and arrangements, how can this all just fit into one storyline?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So the fact that you brought up Zappa really truly blows my mind, and I'm not blowing smoke. I really literally an hour ago was listening to a podcast. Alex Winter, the guy who was Bill in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, he is a documentarian, and he did a documentary on Zappa. So I started looking it up, and now you're talking about it, and that is so absurd. So then let me ask, because as I was watching the Zappa stuff, I was remembering that one of the keys to his live performance were they would create these themes and they would vamp on it, and then the band would, you know, jam around that vamp, and it changed from night to night, show to show. And sometimes it would be, you know, in a calypso, and the next night it would be in a reggae, and the next night it would be hip hop, right?
Yeah.
Does your band, being a live band, does it vamp on stage and sometimes you just freeform, or is it always like, you know, I mean, like, here's the arrangement and we stick to it?
So it's 50-50 with, to be honest, Rob. There are certain songs that I call them like key show songs, where the arrangement has been, we've been playing the arrangement. It's been the arrangement on your birthday, my birthday, 2 years from now, 5. That is the arrangement. However, I always like there to be like room for both growth and breadth in the live segment. So giving the musicians a chance to, okay, we're going to play this arrangement, but it's going to lead out into you having a solo and being able to freestyle for this 8-bar count. And then we're going to bring it back to the arrangement so it ties in and makes cohesive sense. And then, you know, we may, okay, drummer and bass and this person will also have their freestyle parts. And then we're going to bring it back to section B of the, just so that there's like a level of cohesiveness. But then, there's also freedom, because I always want my musicians to show off because they're amazing. They're great at what they do. And they went to school and studied jazz for years and years. So, all right, guys, let's get on stage and show them what the hell that y'all can do.
Right on.
And let's bring it back to like the actual vibe. And like, I've learned, so that is something that I've learned from Zappa, because when I was maybe about 5, 6, between like 5, 6, just my whole life growing up, my big brother was a huge Zappa fan, like, which made me a Zappa fan. Like, if you go right now, true story, into my living room, there is a picture of Bob Marley and Frank Zappa, like just, and Black Jesus. Is Black Jesus.
It's like a Spike Lee movie.
Rob, I will have my mom take a photo so that I can send it to you so you know it's yes. It is Bob Marley hand painted, Zappa in the middle, and Black Jesus right next to
oh my goodness. That is fantastic.
That is how much of an influence that he's just had on me in general, because he's the king of you writing your arrangements and doing the arrangements, and then having these guitar players or just the artists in general go into these long solo passes, and they're going into like a whole different world. And then the next thing you know, boom, you're hearing like that crazy like 16/8 arrangement that he wrote. And it's like, oh, shit, that's crazy. Yeah. So that's essentially, I was like, when I start playing live, I'm going to do that. So yeah, Zappa has a major influence on just like the technicality and how I perform live in a mixed in with like just Mick Jagger elements of me just like running back and forth on stage like a nutcase, and then like my punk rock elements of just, the Sex Pistols and Suicidal Tendencies. Like those are my favorite bands like growing up. So.
Oh my God. Like you could be my best friend. That's awesome. I
surprise the hell out of people when they're like, what do you listen to? And I'm that person that when I say I've listened to everything, like I really mean it, and we can like have conversations about whatever genre you want to talk about. Chances are I've listened to it, and there's something that I identify with and like. So
yeah, that's rad. So I know we're so short on time today. It's awful how short we are on time, but it's life, right? I want to talk about the new single, Class Enrollment. Can we do that?
Like chat when I have more time and I'm not like, okay, Robin, go.
No, it's good. It's good. But can we talk about Class Enrollment, the new single?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I want to ask a simple question about this. What do you think as this new single rolls out, because it comes out in a couple of days, what sets this apart from previous work? I mean, do you see it as more mature? And I asked this question because, I listened to it again right before the interview here. I wanted to really kind of have it jammed in my head. And I feel like I know the answer, and I'm happy to give you my own takeaway on it. But I'd love to know what you think about this new single and why you think it's going to pop, because I think it's going to hit hard.
There's just something so special about Class Enrollment, Rob. Like,
I agree.
Even when I've performed it live with other people, like the response is so overwhelming. And number one, just my writing skills in this one compared to the first one, sharper, has improved, which I love as an artist. Like, I want to be getting better and improving and getting sharper each moment and each time. Just the overall like sound production and everything is very, it has massively changed and increased. And shout out to Sam J. Garfield, my new producer that I have, that has really taken me under his wing and pushed me as an artist to like, I've never had a producer before. Usually everything is produced by myself and I'm the one who's in charge. So me taking the reins and like letting someone else essentially work with me to pull out the best version of me has been like the greatest thing that I've ever been able to like do. But yeah, class enrollment, she's just different, Rob, from all the other ones. Like,
yes,
that's the tone for what you're going to expect for this upcoming album.
That's so great. Well, you know what? There's a bravery to this, and I really want to stress this about the producer thing. So many people listening, I'm sure, don't really understand how it works, but a lot of times artists bring in their own producers. A lot of times it's labels. There's a lot of variables, but the way it used to be is a band would get together and they would write the songs, and then they would take it to a studio, and a producer would help them put everything together, put it in order, give some ideas, give some insight, but really sort of manage it from top to bottom. And with modern artists, there's so much DIY attitude that everybody sort of thinks that they can do it themselves. And I think the bravest people out there, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it or you couldn't do it, but I think the bravest people are people like yourself who say, I know I can do this, but I want to make it even better by bringing somebody in who has a skill set I haven't yet developed myself, who's also courageous enough to push me way past where I thought I could go, and to make suggestions that can make the tune so much more on target. Because like my takeaway is it's denser, the beat is really aggressive, and it has this harmonic tension in it that's really fantastic. The vocals are really stellar, and that 80s reverb mix. I know you know what I say. To my friends in the industry, it's what they called a wet sound. This album sounds wet, and that's probably exactly what you wanted.
It's just juicy.
It is so juicy, and it really is literally, that's what they call it. That's what they call those reverb mixes. Those are wet sounds. But that album is wet, and my God, I love it so much. I was just snickering when I was listening to it earlier, so I hope you don't mind me sharing that.
Oh no, please, by all means. That makes my heart smile so much that you're saying that, because that's essentially like how I felt. Like even in the studio with my producer, I was like, if we're not getting sweaty palms, like if we're not, just like feeling it, then like she's not the one. And that's okay. But like she's not the one. So.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I have to always ask a question about what I'm about to ask, and it's the cornerstone of what we do on this show. Talking about health, wellness, mental health. One of the questions in my sort of pre-production, right, that you answered, which is, are you open to talk about it? And listening to your music and talking to you today, it's very clear you are an actual confident person, that you're not putting it on. But over time, I mean, this is life, right? Life is a set of experiences. And I'm curious, how much has your mental well-being played into who you are today? Have you always been this confident, or did you have to learn how to be who you are? Do you feel like you're a persona, for example, or do you feel like you're just you?
Rob, that's
I know.
Question. That is a good question. So I will definitely say that what you see essentially is what you get. Like there is no like, okay, this is Wowashwow, and then now that's Ashley. And the only way that you can really tell the difference of me is when I step on stage. Then it's like, whoa, okay, well, who is this? But how you and I are talking now, Rob, is pretty much how I am 24/7. This confidence, this energy, this swag, this just je ne sais quoi, whatever you want to call it, that you see is not something that came overnight. It's definitely something that took a lot of what I want to call soul work. And looking deep inside, and a lot of acceptance of myself, Rob. Because there was a period of time where just growing up as an artist and a musician, I was, not to sound cocky about it, but it's like, I know what the gifts that I've been blessed with by God and the universe, and I know what I'm capable of doing. I know what I can put out there into the world to help make people happy. And then in addition to that, just cause a little bit of healing in somebody's life. But before that, I can even get to that point, I needed to have confidence in myself. And for the longest time, I didn't even really talk about my music, or I didn't even really like put myself out there, because I'm like, yeah, I'm talented, but is it good enough?
Right.
Or yeah, I'm talented, but I was ashamed to actually shine, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And I feel like a lot of times people do that. And I heard this quote that was like, the sun doesn't give permission to shine. And neither do I.
Yeah.
And I had so many people, especially moving out here in LA when I first got here 2 years ago, that, they tried to stop me from doing what I wanted to do. And the sad thing is that I was listening to them and I was giving up on myself, essentially. And then one day I realized, like, no one is going to believe in you, Ash, the way how you are going to believe in you. Maybe my mom, but like,
sure, her job.
But no one. And if you want people to take you seriously, if you want to have a team, if you want to have all of these things, if you want to go on stage and make people happy, like, how can you do that and you don't believe that shit yourself? So it took a lot of me just stepping out of my comfort zone, stepping out of my shell, doing things that I wouldn't normally do, being inspired by people who were living in their authentic truth around me and living genuinely without like thinking about outside forces or anything of that nature. So all of that has culminated into like the confidence. And I'm not going to say, oh, I'm the most confident girl in the world, Rob, I'm killing it. Absolutely not. Like, there's definitely moments, especially as an up and coming musician, there's moments of self-doubt. There's moments of wonder. There's just moments of everything that you have. And, I am blessed that I am learning how to navigate through it and not act like it's the end of the world, to adjust through any sort of the hardships. And now hardships to me are just minor inconveniences. Not the world. It is a minor inconvenience that can be worked through, sorted through, and then on to the next.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really like that. And it's truth telling, you are living a yes and life, not a yeah but life.
Yeah. And it took a minute to get there. And the yes but, like, that but part still likes to sneak her little sneaky ass into the thoughts. But we just
happens to all of us.
We pull a Coco on them and we just ignore it. And we are not bothered.
Yeah. Well, so okay. So I know I got to let you go, but class enrollment comes out in a couple days, right? Like February 24th?
February 24th. Yes.
Okay.
It drops midnight Eastern Standard Time. So midnight for the East Coast folks, 9 p.m. for the Pacific folks. And Rob, I'm looking forward to everyone throwing their back out, tapping their foot. It's one of those songs that, like, it literally catches on to like everyone. I've seen like just, I've heard and seen small babies sing along to it who have heard the song. There was like this 60-year-old conservative white dude that was like, class enrollment. And that tickled my heart. It's literally everyone has been just latching on to this song and identifying with it. So I'm very excited for the release.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for it to just make people happy and make them just, feel another level of confidence.
Yeah, it's a fun tune, and I'm so stoked for you. I love that you spent a little bit of time with me today. I look forward to having a part 2 in the near future, and hopefully seeing you around. Before I let you go, last thing, I want to encourage everybody to check you out on social media. You're out there, Wowashwow. But do you have any upcoming shows? Anything that we should be aware of for the spring or summer?
Yes. So I actually have a show later tonight at Los Globos. Yeah.
Anybody listening to this isn't going to know about that.
No one's going to be able to see this show, but just know that I had a show tonight, y'all.
Okay. She did. I swear to God, it was great.
And then I also have some shows coming up on March 6th, the 7th, and 8th. If you go to wowashwow.com, I'm going to have all show dates that are coming up. And we are working on and manifesting, Rob, what I want is a tour for the end of summer, early fall. I would like to be on tour. So everyone keeps asking me, what do I want? So I'm like, if I just say in every single interview that I want to be on tour,
nice.
I'm going to be.
Well, I would like to believe that, and I'm about to relieve. I'm about to share a little bit of something that I probably shouldn't, but I have a very good chance of being on the air here in Seattle very soon, and maybe I can have you come on my show.
I would absolutely love to come on your show because we definitely need to talk more Zappa.
Yes, we do.
We absolutely need to, there needs to literally be just 30 minutes of us talking rock and roll history before we even talk
amen,
anything pertaining to me, because we can have a whole chat about that.
Yeah. That real influence stuff, right?
Yeah, let's just talk punk rock and roll starting. Oh my goodness. Even from the story of I grew up in a Christian household and I wasn't allowed to listen to any sort of, it was called the Satan music, except my grandmother liked The Who. And John Bonham, the drummer. So it was gospel music and The Who.
Well, I grew up in the church too. That wasn't an issue in our household, but I do understand what you're talking about this idea that if it's not for Jesus, it's against Jesus.
Exactly, except The Who.
Oh my God!
Said that the drummer could drum, so that was why I was had nothing to do with God at all. Just the fact that she was that boy can hit them things, and so The Who was acceptable in the house, along with the Mississippi Mass Choir.
Oh my God!
And that's how I grew up, Rob.
Plus and romance, plus and romance, plus and romance. Read these rich called class and romance. Plus and romance, plus and romance, plus and romance. Read these rich called class and romance.